All right, welcome back, everybody, to this episode of Under the Tamarisk Tree. I'm Phil Harwood, and I'm joined today by Tabitha Vetter. What are we
Hello.
talking about today, Tabitha?
Today we are talking about the hidden costs of delaying your exit plan and why waiting too long can erode your business value and limit your options. And like we often do, we're going to talk about the top 5 reasons. So, just diving right in
Yeah,
here.
go for it.
All right. The number one reason you don't want to delay your exit plan is because of market timing risk. So why don't you explain why that's so important to us?
Yeah, this is a big one, and this is a great way to start this off. Um, so thank you, Tabitha, for putting this all together for this month. This article, you took the lead on this, and this is great material. So I'm super excited to be talking about this today. But this market timing is really important because I see this a lot with our clients where, there's an interested buyer, so the market's ready, if you will, but the company might not be ready. And so then there's this thought that, well, let's just delay this because the market, with the assumption that the market will still be ready. There will still be buyers out there and everything will still look good in the future, even though it might not. So back to my original thought process here about timing is, this happens a lot where there's an interested buyer and the seller's not ready. And so there's a delay. And that's what we're talking about, right? The hidden costs of delaying. So there's a delay. And then so we move into the future. And then inevitably, the seller's ready, but the buyer isn't ready, or the economics have changed. So the market looks different. So the value isn't the same, and what looked like a really good situation isn't a good situation. And then kind of the third, area in the timeline, if you move down to the timeline into the future, is really an unknown. We don't know if the market's going to be attractive, and we don't know if the company's going to be ready. So this mismatch of, the market might be ready, but the company's not ready to make a move, but then it flips and the company's ready, but the market's not ready, and then the unknown of the future. So these are all, this is what happens when we delay. So the thought process here about getting ready, being ready so the company is ready when the market's ready, because then you can pull the trigger and make a move. If you're not ready and the market's ready, then you're moving into this delayed process that I just talked about, where potentially your opportunity could be really gone.
Absolutely.
So that's that.
Okay.
I think we
And
beat that up enough.
the second one, though, this is really kind of touchy for a lot of owners, especially if they were the founder of their companies. Um, and because this can also get kind of emotional too for a lot of the owners, and a lot of it deals with relationships. So the next risk with delaying is the company being owner dependency. Um, so go ahead with that one and why that's so risky.
Yeah, this is another really important one. So one of the, Tabitha and I do a lot of business valuations, and one of the um, really important factors in valuation is how involved the owner is. So if the owner has all the relationships with the clients, has all the passwords, has all the keys, knows everything, and no one else knows anything, and everyone has to go to the owner for every answer, well, then the value of that company is greatly diminished. So the idea here is when there's a delay in working on your exit plan or your succession plan, sometimes the delay is because the owner doesn't want to give up some of those things. And so if the owner can recognize that, hey, I really need to give those things up. In fact, it's better for my company if I do, well, then it's good for the owner too, because then they're less involved in the day-to-day things. This is more, the company's more of a passive income opportunity for the owner, which is what a lot of owners want, but they really are holding on to things. So again, just if you take the approach that, hey, I'm not going to delay this, like I really need to put it together now, my exit plan, my succession plan, then you're more likely to give up some of those things that normally owners hold on to. I've seen lots of owners take the complete opposite approach where they've really turned over all the the keys, if you will, to their employees, and they're really not involved on a day-to-day basis. They're involved in a weekly leadership team meeting to get the pulse of the company, if that, and maybe they're even dialing in virtually to that. So, that's really the goal is to extract the owner from that day-to-day activity so the company is able to be marketed without the owner's involvement in every single thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. And this is something that I know just with a lot of the people we've talked with, that the owners really don't think about this aspect of it, and that's your talent retention
hmm
and your succession gaps.
Yeah, this is something else that shows up, but and I agree 100%. I think this is not on the radar of a lot of owners. Owners uh, and not just owners, but senior managers, anyone in leadership position. There's this assumption that our people are loyal, they're committed, they're not going anywhere, they're all in, right? And then they're always surprised to realize that they're not. And so, you know, um, it's kind of a shock when you realize, oh, everyone's not committed like I am. Well, so when it comes to succession planning can be a really healthy thing for an organization because, when you have talented people, they want to know that their future is secure. And when there's a good plan for ownership, then that gives some comfort of knowing, hey, this company's in good hands. They've, the leaders of this company have been thoughtful. They've involved the right advisors. They've laid out a plan for the future, and I feel good about where I'm at. I know that my future's in good hands. But if you look at an aging owner who's maybe way too involved in things and doesn't have a succession plan. And, well, if I'm a talent, an up and comer in that organization, I'm looking at my future and I don't really know what my future is. So I'm way more likely to get poached and just jump ship and go somewhere else.
Well, yes, because if you don't, I mean, you can have the most loyal, team member or leader, person on your leadership team, but if they don't know what their future holds with you, I mean, and it is kind of, you expect loyalty from your team, but you also have to show that to them.
Right.
And they need to know because they're trying to plan their lives and for their
Mhm.
families. So it's huge. And
For sure.
I believe we hear more about this from the team members than we do from the owners, and they're
hmm
shocked when they hear about this. Oh, they want to plan for their life too? Yeah.
Of
So
course. Right.
yeah, it's really important.
hmm
So the next part of this, and Phil, I know you can really speak to this, especially being an attorney, is the tax and estate consequences that come from delaying your exit plan.
Yeah, I mean the big one this year that's kind of front and center is with House Bill 1, the big beautiful the big beautiful bill act which was passed. There was great uncertainty about what's going to happen with estate and gift tax. And so, this might not affect every single person on this call or on, listening to this podcast or watching the video, but it certainly affects high net worth individuals. So, what I'm talking about here is the estate tax, which is 40%, which is pretty enormous. Think about losing 40% of the value of your estate, giving that to the government if you're over a certain income level. So for most Americans, there's an exemption that applies to them. Um, and so there's no gift tax. It's zero up to that exemption amount. Well, the amount now, because of the big beautiful bill, is $15 million, or that's what it will be in 2026 for an individual. So double that, 30 million for a couple. Um, if you have an estate worth more than that, you're going to pay that 40% estate tax unless you can shelter some of that through some AB trusts or whatever. And we can talk more about that some other day. But the risk was that before this bill was passed, that that exemption, which was up to about, it was inflation adjusted, but there was a sunset in 2025. So the exemption amount was almost $14 million, and it would have went back down to about half that if the bill hadn't passed. So that's significant because that exemption, if it was at $7 million, that includes everything, the value of your business, the value of your home, all your personal property, your vacation home, all your toys. People can easily hit that $7 million mark. So that was a scary thing. So it's back up to 15. Certainly doesn't apply to every single person because a lot of people will be below that exemption. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because of the uncertainty of this. So if we know, like we know what this is today, but Congress can change things tomorrow. So IRS can, those about taxes and what the value of your estate is can change dramatically over time. So we want to be thoughtful about this. We want to be out ahead of it, and we want to be able to take advantage of the right situation when it's in front of us. That's the point of this. Sorry, I
Absolutely.
went in the weeds there.
You're fine, you're fine. This is about, I mean, that's one of the main topics. You want to preserve more of the wealth that you've worked so hard to create
Yes,
life. And but of course, exit planning isn't just financial.
right.
By delaying again the plan, you really can create a lot of family and emotional strain. And I know we've seen that time and time again as well.
Yeah, especially when there's kids involved in a lot of situations, there's children involved in the business and there's other children that are not involved in the business. And there's a question about equity and distribution of an estate. Um, but man, I keep thinking about this conversation I had with someone who was an attendee of one of my presentations. I was giving a talk at a luncheon event, and one of the attendees came up to me afterward and told me about their family business, where I think it was this individual's uncle who had passed away, and he had just been to the funeral the day before, and the family was distraught because he was a younger owner, and his spouse was left with this business that she wasn't involved in, and all these employees and all these customers and all this running operating business that all of a sudden was her problem to try to figure out what to do with while she was making funeral plans for her husband who had passed away unexpectedly. And I can't remember the circumstances, but what a tragic situation. And that's the worst thing we want to have when we think about a delay is some tragedy happening, and then all of a sudden your loved ones are left, to pick up all the pieces. And the worst time to be talking about succession planning and trying to figure out all the details around this is while we're planning someone's funeral. That is the absolute worst time. So we want to get what a terrible way to end this podcast. By the way,
Agree.
it's so uplifting.
Wow,
But
now we're all depressed.
but this
Thanks.
is this is real life. This is real life, and real families are affected when we don't get out ahead of this, and that can really happen when we delay.
And it that's true. And even though it's something nobody likes to talk about and it's uncomfortable, honestly, when you're a business owner, it's something that everybody is actually thinking about and not discussing with you. Your spouse is worried, your children, especially if they're grown children and they're part of the company, your employees. This is something that is in the back of everybody's minds. It's just such an uncomfortable topic to approach.
Right,
So, but
right.
it can be devastating if it isn't handled. And then
Yeah, so no, 100%. So I think just to kind of go back to the beginning here, there's delays cause problems.
yeah.
And so what we're trying to outline in this video and this blog post for this month is really the cost of all those delays. There's all these different facets of why not to delay and why you should engage with not necessarily us. We'd love to talk to you, but if you have other advisors, um, you know, there if you delay, there will be a cost.
So what is the best time to start the exit planning process?
yesterday. Yeah, I mean, you
Exactly.
really have to, and there's yeah, and some of this can be done very simply. It doesn't have to be super complex, doesn't have to be super expensive. Um, so we're more than happy to chat with you and talk to you about your situation and help you with that plan.
Yep. So how can people get in touch with us when they're ready to start doing
I
this?
mean, the best place to start is probably just hit our website, so tamriskadvisors.com. Phone number's right there. You can hit us up there, web contact form. Would love to chat with you.
Absolutely. I think that we're good then for today.
Great. Thanks, Tabitha.
Thank you, Phil.
Take care, everybody. Talk
Bye-bye.
to you next month.